Good afternoon, everyone. Etna, ash injection up to about 33,000 feet. Strongest tornado ever recorded, Czech Republic. Massive hail across a swath of countries through Europe. Obscure crops reaching record highs, sunflower seeds, African rice up at least 40%. And the U.S. Supreme Court blocking refineries, given the waiver they don't need to do ethanol mandates any longer. What a way to add food back to the food supply. They've already made their trillions on ethanol. You don't want the masses getting out the pitchforks now, do you? Investors could still see some of the strongest price action in gold this year, according to Wells Fargo, which sees signs of a developing rally. Money managers believe we could see inflation reach new levels that we have not seen since the Jimmy Carter era. For centuries, investors around the globe have turned to gold in times of economic uncertainty. Gold supplies have flipped from excessive to deficient, and such times in the past have sparked some of gold's strongest price rallies, unquote. Patriot Gold Group has the no-fee-for-life IRA, where your IRA or 401k can be in physical gold and silver, and you may be eligible for the no-fee-for-life IRA. So go ahead and give the folks at Patriot Gold Group a call to discuss physical gold and silver. And the knowledge that Patriot Gold Group is Consumer Affairs' top-rated gold IRA dealer 5 years in a row from 2016 until present. Click the link in the description box below for more information. And now on with the video. And more giant fountaining lava events across the globe. All eyes on Etna. Cameras capturing the beauty of nature. 2-mile long lava flows off the cone. 3,000-foot lava fountain. And a 32,800-foot ash injection. Adding into the global totals for 2021 of an enormous amount of ash, incalculable, unfathomable, crop yield affecting, and it's all natural. Nothing to do with you, the human. A look at the sulfur dioxide plume here off Copernicus. This is the Sentinel-2 EU satellite. Now this will dissipate along with ash as a particle. But SO2, or sulfur dioxide, reflects sunlight. And you have to wonder, with all these accumulated eruptions through the year so far, each one adding a little more. It's like adding another glass into a bathtub, another champagne flute into the bathtub. At what point does it become full enough before it's noticeable and you might want to hold your breath? And here's some anomalies out of Europe. We keep getting this whole bevy of strongest ever record-setting 2021 events from A to Z. Here's another one. Hodonín, and this is in Czech Republic. Strongest tornado ever to hit the Czech Republic in, quote-unquote, modern history. So this is where we get splitting the hair. You could go back into the Maunder minimum and find tornadic activity and storms with the exact same frequency, if not even more intense, because we're not into the depths of the grand solar minimum yet. So modern history goes back into what, the 1930s? Well, let's go back into the 1640s and see what happens. But nonetheless, strongest recorded tornado ever in the Czech Republic. And this was a massive weather front that swept through Europe, traveling from west to east through Poland, Czech Republic, which smashed all types of Windows building infrastructure with the amount of hail was devastating on this weather front here. Tornado, intense. Size of the hail in the supercell front that moved through Europe. This is actually a small hailstone in comparison to what was sighted in Poland. They even put a couple measuring devices there so you could see it from hand size up to several inches above that. This is the same front that smashed through and dropped the tornado in Czech Republic. Not only that, but it smashed roofs across a 500-mile front moving through Europe. The damage is still being totaled. Such a massive hail event. And you knew the size of the hail was going to increase in this grand solar minimum. And here we go. 1600s, they talked about it being the size of bowling balls, smashing villages into the mud that they didn't know there was a village there prior where the wood was so shattered. This is the type of upticks that are in our direction moving. And included in the article was this interesting graphic here. The frequency or possibility and the most intense tornadic activity through the year in Europe. So July is that yellow, along with June. It fits the area, especially with Poland and right over there, Czech Republic. But look what's coming in July. And then August, it seems to switch really far north up into the Scandinavian nations. But then October is clear down in the Med. So you can see how it moves with the jet streams and the temperatures. Now over to some unusuals as well. You know, looking through the crop reports, everybody's talking about soybeans and corn, cotton. But who's ever talking about sunflower seeds, sunflower oil, and sunflower products? Finding this out of the EU, off the International Grains Council. Look at that, June of 2020. And what do we see? More than doubling in April of 2021. And it's sort of slid off to almost double. And this is happening with all commodities. So think about food pricing. We're going into the doubling range. They might talk about, 12% inflation in your local neighborhood country, whatever that is. The U.S. has shadow inflation of around 12% right now. They can try to hide it, try to dissect it into core and whatnot. But the things that we're really using, things that make lives move, it's around 12%. And then over into rice, African rice, all the way from the broken to parboiled and white rice. But what do you notice? They're all up, and they're all a good 30 to 40% up. So even if your food bill increased by 30% across the board, you would still notice that. Wait until it doubles, and we'll start to see what happens and how resources and assets have been put in place to try to quell this soon-to-be agitated public asking for assistance for food pricing. End of the year, here it comes. So countries like China that were unable to grow very much food last year and went into a deficit because a lot of their grain holding stocks were wiped out in the massive floods. And what do you see? All-time high imports following on those crop losses from last year. And with the droughts and floods happening in different parts of China, their yields are dismal this year as well. So that number should increase in 21-22, but the rest of the planet, like Brazil, which is a large chunk of where the soybeans are coming in from China, is in a 100-year drought and won't be able to supply. So we are in earnest in that rollover year of what happens next year. China is going to continue to try to buy. The soybean producers aren't producing this year. They're going into a deficit due to inclement weather and jet streams flipping and changing in this grand solar minimum. So when there's not going to be enough supply, who's going to bid it up? Because if that goes to 72, 73 million tons and Brazil dropped 30% of their production, those numbers don't add up. Then we're going to get into super cycle pricing where you're going to look at $20 soybean. And that is going to be game over because food prices at that point are going to more than double in a very short period of time. So noticeable for the public that that's going to be the uncontrollable thing that I think most leaders are a little bit most afraid of. So how do you alleviate a little bit of this and buy yourself a few more months? U.S. Supreme Court backs refineries in biofuel waiver dispute. This comes off Reuters. The Supreme Court said small oil refineries and their exemptions stand. They do not have to adhere to increasing levels of ethanol and other renewable fuels added into the gasoline delivered across the United States, blended into other products. A major setback for biofuel producers. Oh, after 2007, they made trillions of dollars already in their refineries and the mandates. Our engines took a beating, though. Wonder what the life of the car was reduced by putting all this into an engine that would wear it faster. But then you look at the biomass-based diesel ethanol prices. What do I see over there? Oh, another Loch Ness Monster neck sticking out of the water into almost record prices for gallons. Perfect timing. This is a win-win-win. You got to look at it this way. blenders and companies that were going to blend in ethanol were going to get rocked to the core on their bottom line because look at these prices rising into record territory. U.S. Supreme Court says, oh, you don't have to blend it in anymore. But at the same time, we need to bring in a new production to feed people and go away from ethanol corn genetics that are inedible for us, the people, and move those crops right over into the edibles. Everybody gets a win out of this. Cropland get recycled. Gasoline companies continue to make without having to take a loss. Mark my words, these biodiesel producers are going to get bailed out with some kind of tax money due to this. Well, it was the Supreme Court. It said it. Because you got to look at this. Back in 2005 to 7, in that commodity super cycle, George Bush with the switchgrass and that whole thing, they said it was intended to reduce dependence on foreign oil and support fossil fuel alternatives. Yet we're closing down all the pipelines across the nation and stopping all new oil drilling and stopping all new oil leases. Yet they still want you to believe that this whole biodiesel thing is about reducing dependence on foreign oil when they're stopping the U.S. producing its own oil. So, this mixed message thing is ridiculous. But who really won in this conversion over from 2007 to today? We're talking about a good 15 years of solid profit forced by mandate. Coalition for Ethanol, National Corn Growers, Farmers Unions, Renewable Fuels Association, and you dive into the who's who of that, and it's just an intertwining octopus from finance to fossil fuels to politics right back into the farms. Trillions with a T were gained out of that 2007 update. And now they're finding that, maybe that's not as clean as they thought it was. Let's repeal that. And see how many win-win-wins. There's so many excuses coming out. We've been played the whole time since 2001. So taking a look at corn here, good to excellent conditions. Anywhere you see a color that's not blue, bad. And then you start to look at their production levels from each individual state on the totals going into the corn production for the U.S. Drought continued out west. And what's most interesting is, as I've been calling for 45 degrees north latitude and above to go offline and have more difficulty growing through the seasons, where do we see the areas that are having difficulty there? Coincidence? Maybe it's a repeating cycle. Grand solar minimum cycle. You might want to think about food during these times as it becomes more expensive, because whatever you buy now is going to be cheaper than if you buy it next month or next year. Plus, give yourself the peace of mind knowing that you have storable foods in your home. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030. The 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply also has 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year emergency food supplies. That link's in the description box below. It's a great way to support the channel. Plus, every story covered tonight, the links are in the description box below this video so you can do your own research. Check out the charts and graphs. Food is how a society moves forward. Not enough food, we go into the dark ages. Thank you for watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you next time.